There comes a moment in every wounded heart's life when the silence becomes heavier than the pain, and the truth becomes louder than the hope. A moment when you stop begging for clarity, stop chasing answers, stop fighting for a space in someone's life who never intended to keep you. This is the moment the narcissist never expects. This is the moment they fear, because this is the moment you accept the discard. Not because you're weak, not because you're defeated, but because your soul finally whispers, enough. And the day you say enough, the entire power dynamic collapses. Not for you, but for them. A narcissist doesn't destroy you by screaming, insulting, or openly breaking you. No, that would make things too clear, too final, too obvious. Their real power lies in something far more subtle, far more dangerous. They weaponize your hope. A narcissist survives on something deeper than attention. They survive on your emotional oxygen, the energy that flows out of you when you are trying to understand them, fix them, decode them, and earn their love. Every moment you spend confused. Every night you stay awake replaying old conversations. Every tear you shed wondering, what did I do wrong? These moments feed them more than any praise or compliment ever could. Because confusion is not just an emotion, it is the leash they wrap around your heart. They don't need to be cruel. They don't need to shout. They don't even need to push you away completely. All they need to do is whisper the one word that keeps you paralyzed. Maybe. Maybe they didn't mean the sudden coldness. Maybe they're just stressed. Maybe they really do care, but they show it differently. Maybe, if you are patient, they will finally choose you. And every maybe becomes another thread in the psychological web they spin around you. A web where everything is unclear, uncertain, unfinished. A place where you don't leave, because you are always almost loved, almost chosen, almost enough. That almost is their power. Narcissists are masters of keeping you between two extremes, hope and fear. Hope keeps you attached to their potential. Fear keeps you afraid to lose them. But the space between those two, that is the prison. It is a psychological tension that Jung described as the liminal space, a state where the psyche becomes stuck between illusion and reality, unable to walk away, yet unable to stay peacefully. You feel like you're drowning in what-ifs. What if they come back? What if you leave too soon? What if they change? What if this is your last chance at love? These questions destroy you slowly, silently, without leaving visible scars. And that is exactly why narcissists use them. Because as long as you are confused, as long as you are waiting, as long as you are trying, you are still giving them your energy. But there comes a moment, a painful, silent, unforgettable moment, when your soul gets tired. Not angry, not dramatic, just tired. Tired of explaining, tired of trying, tired of hoping for something that never arrives. And in that moment, something powerful happens inside you. You accept the discard. You stop asking why they changed. You stop searching for closure in places that only offer chaos. You stop replaying the memories, trying to find where you went wrong. Your heart finally whispers the truth your mind avoided. They never intended to love you, they intended to use you. And when that realization hits you deeply, when you finally stop waiting for their apology, their return, their attention, you take back something they were surviving on, your emotional reaction. This is not just silence. It is psychological starvation. Your attention was their drug. Your confusion was their supply. Your pain was their validation. Your hope was the rope that kept you tied to them. When you cut that rope, you don't just walk away. You remove their mask. And without your emotional oxygen, without your reaction, without your investment, the narcissist begins to suffocate. Not physically, emotionally, psychologically, ego-wise. Because the truth is harsh. A narcissist does not collapse when you leave. They collapse when you stop caring. Your indifference is their punishment. Your clarity is their downfall. Your acceptance of the discard is their real loss. Because it tells them something their ego cannot handle. You woke up, and waking up from their illusion, from their manipulative maybe, from their false promises, is the one thing they never expect you to do. For you, it is healing. For them, it is death, the death of control, the death of supply, the death of their power over your soul. And that is why accepting the discard, is the moment everything changes. Not for you, but for them. In the world of the narcissist, words are weapons. Every conversation is a battlefield, and every argument a strategy to maintain control. They can fight your anger. They can challenge your pain. They can twist your words like a master illusionist, bend your memories until they fit their version of reality, a process known as gaslighting. They rewrite your story, making you doubt your own truth, making you question what you remember, what you felt, what you believed was real. But there is one thing they cannot fight, one weapon you hold that they were never prepared to face: your silence. Silence as a language of power. Silence is not absence. It is not weakness. Silence is a language of clarity that no manipulation can distort, a language of boundaries that no argument can break, a language so powerful because it refuses to participate in the narcissist's endless game of control. When you stop responding, you stop feeding the insatiable hunger of their ego. You no longer engage in their narrative. You stop chasing the illusion they project. You refuse to explain yourself, to justify your feelings, to rewrite the past in their favor. Your silence becomes a mirror, but unlike the mirrors they surround themselves with, which only reflect their illusions, your silence reflects the unvarnished truth, and narcissists cannot bear the truth, the panic behind their facade. For a narcissist, silence is terrifying, because silence forces them to face something they have avoided all their lives: themselves. Behind their grandiosity lies a fragile core, a wounded child, a deep void of unacknowledged pain and fear. Their entire identity depends on avoiding this emptiness, hiding behind layers of manipulation, lies, and control. When you argue, they fight back. When you cry, they dismiss you. When you shout, they dominate. But when you fall silent, when your voice no longer answers their provocations, when you refuse to give them the emotional oxygen they crave, something changes. The shift from control to confusion. Suddenly, the narcissist is disarmed. Their carefully crafted story no longer has a listener. Their attempts to provoke a reaction fail. The narrative they control slips from their grasp. And in this void of response, panic sets in. They begin to remember. Remember the love you gave that wasn't returned. Remember the trust that was betrayed. Remember the truth they buried beneath their lies. They begin to long for the control they lost, long for the power they once held over your emotions, long for the identity they created by manipulating your feelings. They begin to panic, because the silence you offer is not surrender, it is resistance, the power of refusal. Your silence says, I will no longer be your echo. I will no longer fill your emptiness with my voice. I will no longer be the container of your chaos. It is the ultimate refusal, the refusal to carry shadows that are not yours, the refusal to be a prisoner of their illusion, the refusal to participate in their narrative. This refusal shakes the foundations of the narcissist's world, because their entire survival depends on your reaction. Your pain, your anger, your confusion, these are the fuels that keep their illusion alive. Remove the fuel, and the fire begins to die. Silence as a sacred boundary. Silence is a boundary drawn with strength and love. It is not a cold retreat, but a sacred space for healing. It is the space where you reclaim your power, your voice, your truth. In silence, you listen to your soul, hear the whispers of your own needs and desires that were drowned out by the narcissist's demands. In silence, you begin to rebuild, to reconstruct the self beyond their shadow, to find peace not in chaos, but in stillness. The inner transformation. The narcissist's fury or confusion is not your burden. Their panic is not your responsibility. Your silence is a gift to yourself, a declaration that you will no longer sacrifice your sanity for their illusion. By embracing silence, you awaken to a deeper truth. That healing begins when you stop trying to fix what is broken inside another. That freedom comes when you stop seeking validation from those who will never truly see you. Your silence is the first breath of your sovereignty, a quiet revolution within your soul, the invitation to face themselves. When you stop reacting, the narcissist is left face to face with their reflection, not the flattering one they created, but the raw, empty, fearful self beneath. This confrontation is unbearable for them because it is the moment they can no longer escape their shadow. It may provoke rage, manipulation, desperate attempts to regain control, but these reactions are symptoms of their crumbling illusion. Your silence is not an end, it is a beginning of your liberation, a beginning of their reckoning. Conclusion: silence as power. So, remember this: your silence is not weakness. It is your strongest weapon. It is the language the narcissist was never taught to understand. It is the mirror they cannot shatter. It is the truth they cannot escape. When you stop responding, you reclaim your life. You stop carrying their story. You begin to carry your own. And in that sacred silence, you find not emptiness, but the full presence of your own being. It's a painful truth to face, but one that must be understood. Narcissists do not come back because of love. The idea that their return is an act of genuine affection is one of the most damaging illusions we can hold on to. Their comebacks are driven by something far more cold and calculated: the hunger for supply, that invisible yet essential energy they extract from those around them. The addiction to supply. Narcissists are addicts not to substances, but to attention, validation, and emotional energy. These are their lifeblood. They survive on the fuel of admiration and the constant reflection of their crafted image, fed by the emotional responses of others. When they take from you your time, your love, your care, they are siphoning the very essence that sustains their grandiose illusion. It's a parasitic relationship where the narcissist, like a creature of the night, must periodically return to their source to replenish their fading glow. The emotional energy you gave effortlessly. One of the most heartbreaking parts of this dynamic is how effortlessly you gave. You gave love without hesitation, hope without conditions, understanding without boundaries. You poured yourself out, not because you wanted to fuel their ego, but because you saw the fractured soul beneath the surface. You believed, perhaps against your better judgment, that your love could heal them, and in this giving, you became their emotional reservoir, a well that seemed endless from their perspective. Why they return, not for you, but for the supply. When they return after the discard, it is not to mend what was broken between you. It is not to apologize, to commit, or to rebuild trust. They return because the supply has run dry elsewhere. You were once a source of emotional nourishment, and even if they discarded you, they know you still hold that power. They come back seeking to reclaim what was lost, not the person you are, but the energy you embody. This cycle repeats itself again and again, a cruel dance choreographed by the narcissist's need rather than your worth. The turning point. When you accept the discard. But there is a moment of profound transformation in this cycle, a moment when the victim becomes the sovereign. This moment comes when you accept the discard. Acceptance does not mean surrender or resignation. It means the deep internal recognition that the narcissist's departure is not your failure. It means no longer waiting for closure that will never come. It means no longer clinging to the hope that they will change. Acceptance is the beginning of your healing. It is the moment when you stop chasing the ghost of a love that was never truly yours. Healing the heart in silence. Healing does not always come with loud declarations or grand gestures. Sometimes it comes in the quiet spaces between the storms, in silence. Healing your heart in silence means reclaiming your emotional energy, building your boundaries, and learning to stand firmly in your own truth without needing external validation. It is the slow, often painful process of detaching your soul from the chaos the narcissist brought into your life. It is learning to exist independently of their presence, to find wholeness within yourself rather than in the reflection of another's attention. Becoming unreachable. The greatest punishment. When you heal in this way, something remarkable happens. You become unreachable. Unreachable, not physically distant alone, but emotionally and spiritually detached from their influence. You no longer respond to their attempts at control. You no longer fall into their traps. You no longer feed the hunger of their insatiable ego. For a narcissist, this is the cruelest punishment imaginable, because what they truly desire is not you, the person, but the access to your soul, the emotional oxygen that you once provided so freely. losing what they never deserved. This loss is profound for them. Losing access to a soul they never deserved is like a king being stripped of his crown, like a fire starving for fuel. It shakes the foundation of their entire identity. Because narcissists build their world on control and projection, on the belief that others exist to serve their needs and affirm their worth. When you no longer offer that, when you no longer serve as their source, their illusion begins to unravel. The liberation of the empath. But for you, this loss is liberation. You are no longer bound to the exhausting cycle of giving and being discarded. You are no longer tethered to the unpredictable tides of their attention. You step into your own sovereignty, your own wholeness. This freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of a newfound strength, what their return really means. So, when the narcissist comes back, understand this truth. They are not returning for love. They are returning because they miss the supply, the emotional energy you once gave so freely and unconditionally. But when you heal and detach, you deny them that access. You set a boundary that no manipulation can cross. And in doing so, you reclaim the most precious thing of all, yourself. Closing reflection. Your journey is one of awakening, not of victimhood. It is a path of discovering that your worth does not depend on another's approval. When the narcissist returns, let their arrival be a reminder not of your longing, but of your power. The power to choose yourself, to protect your soul, and to live free from the chains of illusion. Carl Jung's profound insight. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, illuminates the invisible forces that govern human behavior. This truth resonates deeply in the dynamic between an empath and a narcissist, where unconscious shadows wield immense power. In this section, we explore how the empath embodies the shadow that the narcissist desperately avoids, a shadow so potent it threatens to unravel their entire constructed identity. The unconscious truth, the shadow revealed. The narcissist's world is built on illusions, grandiosity, and tightly controlled narratives. But beneath this carefully curated facade lies a fractured soul, wounded and hollow. This inner emptiness, their shadow, is hidden from themselves and the world, buried deep within the unconscious. It is the part they fear the most, because to acknowledge it would mean confronting vulnerability, shame, and the unbearable void of being truly seen. You, the empath, represent that unconscious truth to them. You are the living mirror reflecting back what they deny, the emptiness inside, the fractured parts they keep locked away. Your empathy pierces their armor, not by attacking, but by simply existing with your profound sensitivity and understanding. Your presence exposes the gaps in their grandiosity. Your empathy as a threat. Empathy is often misunderstood as weakness or sacrifice, but in this context, it becomes a powerful weapon. Your ability to feel deeply, to sense their hidden wounds beneath the layers of manipulation and charm, threatens the narcissist's illusion of invincibility. Your loyalty reveals their betrayal. When you stand faithfully beside them, expecting love and respect, you inadvertently highlight their incapacity to truly love. You are a living contradiction to their narrative of perfection, a constant reminder that their mask is just that, a mask. This exposure is terrifying for the narcissist. They have built their identity on being admired, adored, and never truly vulnerable. Your empathy threatens to tear down the walls they have painstakingly built. The moment of discard, a mirror shattered. When you accept the discard, the painful moment when you stop chasing, stop hoping, and stop trying to fix what cannot be fixed, you shine a light into the darkest corners of their shadow. Your acceptance is not defeat. It is a profound act of clarity. In that moment, the narcissist is confronted not with the empath they once controlled, but with their own reflection, the parts of themselves they have refused to acknowledge. And unlike you, who embraces your shadow as part of your journey to wholeness, they run. Why they run? The unwinnable battle. Facing one's shadow is the most courageous act of self-awareness, but it is also the most terrifying. For a narcissist who has never developed the tools for genuine introspection or emotional resilience, confronting the shadow is like staring into a void without a safety net. The shadow contains all that they have repressed: shame, fear, vulnerability, and a sense of worthlessness. To face it would be to dissolve the very foundation of their ego. It is a battle they can never win because they have constructed their entire existence on avoidance and denial. Instead of evolving, healing, or integrating their shadow, they choose flight. They discard what threatens them, the empath who sees too much, who feels too deeply, and retreat back into their fortress of illusion. The shadow as a catalyst for growth. Though the narcissist flees, the empath's confrontation with their shadow marks a crucial turning point in the empath's own individuation process, a key concept in Jungian psychology. Individuation is the journey toward becoming whole by integrating the unconscious shadow into conscious awareness. When you stand in the light of your own truth, you no longer carry the burden of another's shadow. Instead, you reclaim your power. Your acceptance of the discard is a refusal to remain entangled in the narcissist's unconscious drama. It is a declaration that you will no longer be the container of their unacknowledged pain. The Jungian dance of light and shadow, this dynamic between the empath and the narcissist, is a profound illustration of the Jungian dance between light and shadow within the psyche. The empath, through their openness and vulnerability, embodies the light that reveals truth. The narcissist embodies the shadow that fears exposure. This interplay is not accidental. It is archetypal, repeating itself across time and cultures. The empath's role is not to rescue or fix the narcissist, but to witness and, when necessary, reflect the shadow back so that healing can begin if the narcissist is willing. But this willingness is rare because shadow work demands humility and courage that the narcissist often lacks. The courage of the empath. Standing in the face of a narcissist's shadow requires immense courage. You are faced with rejection, rage, and denial because the narcissist's ego is under attack. But your courage is not just about surviving their response. It is about embodying your own truth and wholeness. By refusing to be silenced or manipulated, you make visible what was hidden. You break the cycle of projection where the narcissist casts their shadow onto you and you absorb it. Instead, you illuminate the truth, both theirs and yours. Liberation. Through shadow integration, this illumination frees you. It allows you to move beyond the victimhood that often accompanies narcissistic abuse. You begin to understand that your shadow is part of your power. Your wounds, your sensitivity, your boundaries, they are all part of your path to healing and wholeness. The narcissist's flight signals the end of an old story and the beginning of a new chapter in your life, a chapter where you are no longer defined by the unconscious dynamics imposed by another. Conclusion. Facing the shadow is a choice. The narcissist's refusal to face their shadow is not just a failure of character. It is a deep psychological survival mechanism. But it also means that they remain trapped in cycles of pain and illusion. You, on the other hand, have the choice to make the unconscious conscious, to face your own shadow and emerge stronger. When you accept the discard, you do more than let go. You shine a light that calls for transformation. And though the narcissist may run, your journey toward wholeness has only just begun. At the moment your heart shatters, when the pain of loss feels unbearable and raw, it's natural to believe that you are the one who has lost something precious, something irreplaceable. The ache whispers the story of absence, of something vanished from your life forever. But this section turns that narrative on its head, revealing a profound truth. You didn't lose them, they lost you. The illusion of loss. Who truly disappears? When a relationship with a narcissist or toxic partner ends, the emotional weight can be crushing. We tend to focus on what we've lost, the companionship, the dreams, the moments shared. Our mind tries to hold on to the fragments, desperately clinging to the idea that this person was irreplaceable. But what if that's just the surface illusion? What if, beneath the pain, there is a deeper reality? A reality where the true loss belongs not to you, but to them. The gift they failed to value. You were more than just a partner. You were someone who truly cared, not superficially, not conditionally, but with genuine empathy and understanding. You saw their brokenness, the cracks behind their mask, and you stayed. You offered your heart and soul, often standing firm through storms they created. This level of care is rare. Not everyone is willing to walk through the fire of a narcissist's chaos. Not everyone can love someone who so often rejected or dismissed their worth. Your presence was a gift, a steady, loyal flame in a world that might have been cold and confusing for them. Yet, tragically, the narcissist never truly valued this gift. The parasite and the giver. You didn't lose a partner who loved you genuinely. Instead, you lost a parasite, a soul that sucked emotional energy, validation, and control from you without giving anything real in return. In this parasitic relationship, your care was drained, your boundaries were ignored, your worth was diminished, and the more you gave, the more they took, never offering true reciprocity. You invested deeply, but the narcissist was incapable of giving back in a way that nourished your spirit. What they lost, a soul they can never replace. The narcissist may have walked away, but what they truly lost is far more significant than your presence. They lost a soul, a unique and rare being who genuinely understood them beneath the surface. Someone who would have stood by them, not out of obligation but out of authentic loyalty and love. This loss is invisible to them, often unrecognized in their grand illusions and self-absorption. But it haunts them in subtle ways. They will search for what they lost in every new person they encounter, looking for the warmth, the empathy, and the connection that only you could provide. But because they never truly knew how to receive or cherish this love, they will never find it again. The eternal void, their unfillable loss. This section echoes a painful but crucial truth. Narcissists carry an internal emptiness they are unable to fill. Their relationships are often a series of attempts to patch this void with external validation, control, and fleeting admiration. When they lose someone like you, someone who offered real emotional connection, they lose the closest thing to a chance at healing. Yet, because they refuse or are unable to face their own shadow, they are doomed to endlessly repeat patterns of loss and replacement. Every new relationship becomes a pale imitation, never fulfilling the soul-deep need that you once met, however imperfectly. Reclaiming your power. You are not the one who lost. This section empowers you to reclaim your narrative and your strength. Yes, the breakup or discard may have felt like a personal devastation, but in truth, you are the one who survived. You are the one who preserved your integrity by finally seeing the truth clearly. The narcissist's departure is not your failure. It is their loss, the loss of a soul that could have loved them truly, if only they had been willing to face themselves. Healing through perspective. Understanding this perspective helps in healing. When you recognize that you didn't lose a partner but shed a parasite, you begin to release guilt, self-blame, and grief rooted in illusion. You can begin to mourn what could have been, but also celebrate the freedom you've gained, the freedom to love yourself without sacrifice, without confusion, and without chains. The lasting impact, from victim to victor. This realization shifts you from victimhood to victory. You no longer see yourself as broken or abandoned, but as whole and wise, someone who escaped a toxic cycle that many never do. You embody resilience because you have endured emotional abuse and emerged with your soul intact. Looking forward, a new beginning. The section closes with hope. Though they lost you and may never find another like you, you are free to seek relationships that honor and nourish your true self. You now carry the lessons learned about boundaries, empathy, self-worth, and the courage to walk away. Your path is no longer defined by someone who drained your life, but by the authentic journey of self-love and wholeness. Conclusion. The ultimate truth of loss and love. In the final analysis, this section confronts the painful but liberating truth of emotional abuse. You didn't lose them. They lost you. They lost a soul who cared deeply, who loved without illusion, who faced their brokenness honestly. And you lost something far greater than a toxic partner. You lost the chains that bound you. This profound reversal of perspective is the first step toward reclaiming your power, rebuilding your life, and ultimately opening your heart to love that is real, mutual, and healing. This section holds a powerful and liberating message about the true beginning of healing after a painful relationship, especially one involving a narcissist. Often, people believe that healing starts with forgiving the other person, the one who hurt them. But this section shifts the focus inward and tells us that the real healing begins only when we forgive ourselves. Forgiving yourself, the heart of healing. The most difficult part of moving on isn't forgiving the narcissist or the toxic partner. It's forgiving yourself for having accepted less than you deserved. For years, you may have tolerated manipulation, neglect, or emotional harm, hoping that things would get better or that your love alone could fix the broken dynamic. This self-forgiveness is essential because it acknowledges the human truth that we all make mistakes, we all have vulnerabilities, and we all sometimes settle out of fear, confusion, or love. It's not about blame, but about compassion for your own journey. Healing begins when you stop punishing yourself for the decisions made in ignorance or desperation. The discard as awakening, not ending. The moment you were discarded, the painful break, the rejection, it felt like an ending, like a door slamming shut on hope, trust, and a future you once dreamed of. But this section reveals a profound reframing. The discard was not your ending, it was your awakening. An awakening means a new beginning, a shift in consciousness. Instead of a victim of loss, you become an awakened soul who has gained clarity. You see the relationship and the narcissist for what they truly were, and you understand that your worth and wholeness were never dependent on their approval or love. You didn't break, you transformed. The pain of the discard often feels like breaking, yet this section reminds us that it was not a breaking point, but a transformative one. Transformation means change, growth, and rebirth. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, you have endured the fire of betrayal and confusion, and emerged stronger and more whole. Your suffering catalyzed an inner evolution, teaching you resilience, self-awareness, and the power to reclaim your own soul. What the narcissist lost. While you were undergoing this transformation, the narcissist believed they had discarded you, as if you were disposable, insignificant, or easily replaced. But in truth, they discarded their last chance at something authentic. They lost the opportunity for real love, real connection, and true healing, the very things they are incapable of seeking for themselves, hidden behind their walls of grandiosity and denial. Your departure marks the closing of a chapter where they could exploit and manipulate, forcing them to face the emptiness they usually avoid. Freedom, your true gain. Accepting the discard is an act of liberation. It is the moment you stop waiting for validation, closure, or change from the narcissist, and instead reclaim your own power and peace. You free yourself from the psychological chains that bound you to their illusion. You step into your own sovereignty, no longer defined or controlled by their presence. The narcissist's loss is your gain. Ironically, as you free yourself, the narcissist loses everything. Without your emotional energy, your attention, and your forgiveness, their world collapses. They lose their supply, the fuel that kept their ego alive. Your healing is their undoing, not out of vengeance, but because you no longer enable their survival. Conclusion. The final truth. The final truth is a call to self-love and self-respect. Healing begins when you forgive yourself and realize that what felt like loss was actually the start of your freedom. The discard was your awakening. You didn't break, you transformed. And in doing so, you reclaim your soul and your life, while the narcissist loses the last chance at something real. This is your ultimate victory.